Hey there, hope you're doing good. In our work, we often have to pick technology, be it frameworks, programming languages, databases, or any other technology. And we often have a choice between mainstream and niche technology. For example, if you need to pick a database, you can use MySQL or you can use Couchbase. If you are picking a web framework, you can use Rails or Django or you can use Elixir. In this video, I'll use Elixir as an example of niche technology to illustrate my points. This video is not about Elixir. It's about why you should think twice before choosing niche technology. We often evaluate technology purely based on technical merits. For example, one of the startups I used to work with had a Java server that would occasionally go into an infinite loop, take 100% CPU, and stop serving requests. In Elixir, this would probably not happen because if one of the processes takes a lot of CPU, it gets throttled automatically so that the other processes which handle other HTTP requests still get their proportionate share of CPU. So unlike in Java or Go, one out of control process doesn't make your entire server unresponsive in Elixir. As another example, you can update an app server without downtime. The way it works is the Elixir runtime loads the new code, starts sending new requests to the new code, and when the old code stops processing HTTP requests, it gets unloaded. Unlike traditional frameworks like Go or Ruby, where you have to restart your app server in order to update it, which in turn means you need multiple app servers. And if you're just building an MVP, that may not be necessary. Elixir has a lot of other interesting properties. You should watch this video which you're seeing on screen, The Soul of Erlang and Elixir. We techies get excited when we hear about great technology like this. As we should. We are passionate about it. That's why we got into tech in the first place. But we should temper that enthusiasm when it comes to making decisions on what to use in production. Real world considerations often outweigh architectural considerations. Let me share with you what I mean. Niche technology is hard to hire for. It's hard to hire Elixir engineers, taking Elixir as an example. You can hire new people and teach them Elixir, but A, they may not be interested in learning for a valid reason that most other jobs don't require Elixir. And it takes time to hire, to learn, maybe a quarter, maybe two. And you may not have time. If you are slow, other startups will beat you to the market and you will lose. And even after the training, you will end up with an Elixir system built by Elixir beginners, which will not be a good system. This goes for any technology. An iOS app built by iOS beginners will not be a good app. It will have a huge amount of technical debt that you'll have to fix. So hiring is one problem. Tooling support is also a problem. For example, the VS Code plugin for Elixir hangs. Not only does it hang, it hangs VS Code itself. You don't want to do that. As a second example, I have MySQL Workbench installed on my laptop. I know how to use it. I have a certain level of skill and comfort with MySQL, which I don't with some niche database. So all this tooling and learning needs to be reacquired, which you don't want to do. Libraries may also be limited in case of Elixir, and the ones that are there may be buggy or unmaintained. I know one startup that uses Haskell for its technology, and they've had to hire some Haskell compiler engineers in their team. But that doesn't make any sense. If you're running a startup, you should do things that generate business value. Just as if you're running a factory that makes chairs, you should focus on making chairs, not on generating electricity to power your factory. So the fact that the startup has had to waste its time and focus hiring Haskell compiler engineers is a downside of using Haskell. It's also hard to find solutions to problems online when you use niche technology. Whereas with common technology, the problems are known. For example, even though I am not a JavaScript engineer, I know how var interacts with closures in loops and the fact that there's only one variable, whereas let doesn't have this problem. People know the common problems with other technologies. They don't know the problems with niche technologies, so they'll have to relearn these without help online. Error messages may also be unhelpful. Elixir, I'm told, gives error messages saying that a function has no return value when it actually does. What does that mean? I don't know. Other tools may give you 80% of what the niche tool does. So if you take Elixir as an example of a niche tool and you use Go instead, it gives you 80% of what Elixir does. It has Go routines. They don't share memory. A single server can run tens of thousands of Go routines or maybe more, which it can't with threads in Java. So when we get excited about niche technology saying, hey, it offers this and that and the other one, it's often the case that mainstream technology offers 80% of it. In the 80-20 sense, that may be more than enough for you. The final reason you shouldn't use niche technology is that you may find out at the end that it wasn't worth it, that the benefits were exaggerated and the downsides were not recognized. And it adds risk, and risk is a very bad thing in project management. Many startups already have too much risk going on. They have risk in hiring, they have risk that the existing people may leave, they have funding risk, they have market risk, they have a risk that the UX is bad, that the product doesn't work well, that the marketing can't be done at a sustainable cost, and so on. They are dealing with all kinds of crazy risks. The last thing they want is more risk. In fact, a second best technology that is guaranteed to work, like Rails, let's say, as an example. Let's say you're an Elixir enthusiast and you're insisting on Elixir. I would tell you, no, let's use Rails, even though it may not be as good as Elixir. Like, that's a debatable point, but let's assume for now that Rails is second best compared to Elixir. But Rails is known to work. A second best technology that is guaranteed to work is better than the best technology that might not work. Risk. We don't want risk in projects. These are the real world considerations that you need to take into account when choosing what technology to use.